has officially begun.
The road to $10,000 runs through the Lone Star State. This is round number 4 of 16 on the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing. 43 cars strong, getting ready to take the green flag at this 1.5-mile racetrack for 167 laps. This one is going to be exciting, as we have 3 races in the book. Race number 4 sure to shake up the landscape of this series, if it didn't already, 2 weeks ago at the Auto Club Speedway. My name is Tim Terry. We're going to go down trackside and get into the virtual studio with Tony Stevens and Joe Cortez. And Tony, the one thing that we talk about shaking up, the 2013 winner of this race is not here this evening because he got into a little bit of trouble over the last couple of weeks.
Tim, you're exactly right, and that driver you speak of is Nick Ottinger. We speculated about it, California. We didn't really know what to expect, Joe, as far as the outcome of the incident over in turn 2 with Nick Ottinger. But after iRacing looked at the incident, they did deem he surpassed the incident threshold, which in turn means Nick Ottinger and the Ram Camry will not be in the field tonight. And I think storyline number 1 tonight, Joe, that's going to be huge. Nick Ottinger is not on the track at an intermediate track. This is now a wide open race, maybe.
Well, absolutely right, because remember, Nick Ottinger is the guy to beat on 1.5-mile tracks. Remember that 2 years ago when he not only won here, but he won at 4 other 1.5-mile tracks on the circuit. So if anyone is to beat, that's Nick Ottinger. You know, with him out of the equation, it opens up the race for 43 other drivers for that matter, to really open up and chase this race and really take a big victory with some big momentum going into the rest of the season. A shortened season means every victory counts, more importantly here than anywhere else. And I think everybody on here respects it here at Texas.
And I think, Joe, one of the other storylines we need to look at coming into tonight is the dominance of the team, and in particular, Kenny Humpy. We've had 3 races. Kenny has been a factor in all 3. Didn't win at Daytona, but he did win at Las Vegas. He won at Auto Club Speedway, and there is no question, I think, everybody's looking at him as the guy to beat tonight here at Texas, don't you think?
Well, absolutely. I mean, look at where Kenny Humpy won. He won at Daytona, which is a very wide track, very fast track. He won at Auto Club Speedway, which very much like Michigan has multiple lanes and is very wide to run. And he's been a threat to win here at Texas, which is a very, very fast quad oval track known for speed and known for multiple lane racing. Now, the only question is, can he manage those tires well enough to control this race here tonight? The answer was yes 2 weeks ago at Auto Club Speedway, and I've got a feeling that the team's already one step ahead of us and is doing everything they can in order to make sure tire wear is not an issue for Kenny Humpy or anyone else on the team.
Joe, I think you're exactly right on that. Tire wear going to be key here tonight at Texas. Now, last year, Kevin King ended up in victory lane at this race, but it was a little bit of a stroke of luck. He got a late caution, was being hounded by Ray Alfalla and others. But Kevin, very fast in practice here tonight as well. Do you think this is the track where Kevin King gets his season turned around and maybe can find victory lane again?
Well, remember, Kevin King is one of those core members. He's one of the godfathers of the team, Tony. So if anyone knows this track and anyone knows the setup, it's going to be Kevin King. You wouldn't take Kendricks, for example. You wouldn't give Jeff Gordon the worst stuff, would you? You wouldn't give that other guy, Jimmy Johnson, the worst stuff, would you? No, they're going to give Kevin King the best sled underneath him and the best chance to win this track tonight. And the fact that he won it here last year shows that he knows what he's doing. With the fall of Cody Bias Racing, Tony, the team right now is the team to beat. And it wouldn't surprise me if at the end of this race, when everything is said and done, the guy holding the trophy, the guy wearing the hat and the pistols, is either named Humpy or King.
You're probably right, Joe. Couple of other notes to keep in mind tonight. 2 new members to Gale Force Racing, Brad Mahar and Justin Trombley. They both joined Gale Force Racing actually right as we were shooting the iRacing recap for Fans Choice TV just a couple of weeks ago. That's when the news came out. So you never know how that's going to work out. Of course, Justin Bolton, he's been close 3 times so far this year. Maybe he will visit victory lane. But as you mentioned, Joe, this racetrack is fierce. Take us over this particular racetrack. Tell us a little bit about the facility here at Texas Motor Speedway.
Well, you know very well this facility is an incredible racetrack. The quad oval, 1.5 miles around this track. So many racetrack lanes you can run. You can run 2 wide here. You can run 3 wide here. Tony, you know this track just as well as I do. It's a very, very quick track. And you're absolutely right. You've got a lot of guys with this picking of the silly season, which is getting sillier and sillier week in and week out. It makes for a lot of different setups, and a lot of guys will be trying different things, which is actually really good for the sport. With so many guys trying things early in the season, it makes for a much more competitive season down the line when points matter. And we have that drop race instated, and then it's anybody's championship to win.
The drop race is going to be very important. A lot of drivers have already used theirs, or at least we assume have already used theirs, and they're, to have a championship season, going to have a flawless rest of 2015. We're only a few minutes away from going to grid, but before we do that, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back, recap the points, and a lot of other things heading into tonight here at Texas Motor Speedway. You're watching the iRacing NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series right here live on iRacing Live and Fans Choice TV. Don't go away. I'll be right back in just a moment.
Sorry, guys. I never would have thought making duck calls would have stirred up this much excitement.
No kidding. Got him coming up here.
Shortcut time!
That's what I'm talking about. You sure this is a good idea?
Oh, yeah. I got this. I can't guarantee you how this will end, but Peak can guarantee your radiator for life. Introducing the Peak Run True Guarantee. Check it out at peakguarantee.com.
On the outside, contact made. 56 slides it at a 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even. Give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy. Welcome back to the Texas Motor Speedway round number 4 of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing, and we are getting ready to go green flag racing in just a few moments time for 167 laps. But before we do, let's go down our point standings for this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series season. Keep in mind, 16 races. Your first 12 races, you're allowed to drop your worst finish. These are the point standings without the drop through the first 3 weeks. And it's Kenny Humpy on top. 2 wins in the series, 127 points. Chad Lawton's been consistent. 2 top 5 finishes, 113 points. Ray Alfala, a win, 2 top 5s, 105 points. Cody Bias, Chris Overland complete your top 5. Justin Bolton, Patrick Crabtree, your defending series champion Michael Conti, Tyler Hill, and Jake Sturgis, your top 10. Then you see last year's winner here at Texas, just sitting there in 11th, Kevin King. You look down the list of drivers that are vying for a top 20 spot and beyond, and this series is really close in competition. You see it with the point standings, Tony. One thing we should mention, 21st in the point standings, Brian Blackford. After last week's race at the Auto Club Speedway, we covered that battle for 18th, more than we did for the lead, because it was so exciting at the end of that race. Brian Blackford was moved to the last car on the lead lap in that event. moved from 18th to 25th for blocking in the last few laps, so he's going to lose 8 points in the end of it. He now sits 21st in the point standings with 62 points, so it's a little bit of a downfall, and you guys talked about that one drop being so key in this series. Brian Blackford could be looking back at the end of the season and saying that might be a difference between a top 10 finish and a top 15 finish.
I think you're exactly right, Tim. It very well could be. The good news for Brian Blackford is it was only a few spots. It wasn't a suspension or anything of that nature, because there was talk that if there had been a wreck in that incident, that one or more drivers could have been subject to suspension. So Brian Blackford very lucky that he did not end up losing more than he did after the event at the Auto Club Speedway. Great night or afternoon or whatever you want to call it for racing here at Texas tonight, guys, as we get ready to put cars on the grid. Perfect day, absolutely clear, about 77 degrees with a slight wind from the south, relative humidity not a problem, 56%, and it is ultimately the perfect spring day for racing, Joe.
Absolutely, that it is. These guys are going to have a lot of fun out here on the track. The good news is, with the weather being what it is, with the relatively low temperatures and the good humidity out there, these guys can run the wheels off these cars. And I guarantee you're going to see some drivers out here doing just that, especially when push comes to shove here at the Great American Speedway.
And let's go down our 43-car starting grid for this evening's racing action. It's kind of ironic. These guys are on the front row, Tony. It's Justin Bolton and Cody Bias, those two that left the former Cody Bias racing team to join the team.
You're exactly right. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. Same with the guy that starts third. He's been a star on Yahoo in the past week or so. Michael Conti, the defending series champion. Chad Lawton in the 26 will start to his outside.
In row number 3, the 34 of Matt Busa will start position number 5. On the outside of him, it's your current points leader, Kenny Humpy, the 58, looking to win from position number 6.
We got Thomas Davis in the 83 into his outsider driver who's won here a couple times, Ray Alfalin, the 2.
Patrick Crabtree continues his stellar season. He'll start 9th, and his outside the defending champion of this race, Kevin King.
Row number 6 belongs to the 47 of Chris Overland on the inside. Outside of him, it's the double nickel of Brian Schoenberg, starting 12th.
The Plan B sales number 4 of Brian Day, his new teammate to the outside. The 17 is Justin Trombley.
The 10 of Corey Vincent and the 11 of Brad Davies will make up row number 8.
Behind them, it'll be the 39 of Michael J. Johnson on the inside. In position number 17 on the outside of him, Alex Scribner, the 50, position number 18.
Grid begins to roll with two drivers that had a coming together 2 weeks ago. Byron Daly in the 93 to the outside, the 09, David Rattler.
Brad Mahar, 21st, and Rob Ackley starts 22nd.
Row 12 belongs to Brandon Bowie on the inside, Benjamin Burmeister on the outside.
We got Brandon Schmidt and Thomas Lewandowski your next row.
Timo Ivonen and Adam Gillen on row 14.
Row 15 will be Casey Tucker and Brian Blackford.
Alan Bowes, Trey Eidson your next row.
Former series champion Tyler Hudson starts next to the other Tyler Hill.
Behind them, 82 of Alex Ward on the inside, Nathan Wise, 24 on the outside, position number 36.
Taylor Hurst, PJ Sturgis.
One of our in-cars, Landon Harrison, with Jake Sturgis in 40th spot.
Rounding out the field tonight, Tyler Laughlin, Stephen Gilbert, Danny Hansen, the last 3 drivers to make it in tonight for this 167 feature at Texas Motor Speedway.
Drivers that did not qualify: Ryan Lowe, Andrew Fayash III, Sasha Wessler, Shane Doherty, and Brandon Hoff. Pace car is in. Field in command of Bolton. Green flag flies, and we are underway for the first of 167 laps around this Texas Motor Speedway. And quickly off the hop, Bolton goes to the point. Bias slides in to second. Looks like Conti, Lawton, and Humpy going to fall all into line. And here comes the Obuto Segpe, number 5 to the inside. Conti looking for second quickly.
Conti finding some speed already. He was 3rd quickest, obviously, in qualifying. 7th fastest in the happy hour session. Here he is up to the runner-up spot. And Joe, Michael Conti said he's got new motivation this season. We talked about some of the stuff we've seen him on the internet here recently. He was recently the star of a Yahoo Autos feature about him and his pursuit of the dream. We expect to see Michael Conti in a Legends car at the Concord Motorsports Park, or now known as the Concord Speedway, sometime in the very near future. For Kyle Beatty, looks like Mike Conti proving competitive spirit certainly lives in his camp.
certainly. We've definitely talked about this simulation being a training tool for the pros. So right now, let's go back to two pros. They're dueling it out right now. The 83 of Thomas Davis gets around the 15 of Patrick Crabtree. Chris Overland trying to get around him as well. 2x2. The battle is for position number 10. Overland starting to inch away from the 15 of Patrick Crabtree. He'll take it. Now Schoenberg wants a taste as well.
And you look at that battle back there with the 47 of Chris Overland. They've had that technical alliance with Slip Angle Motorsports in these last couple of weeks, and it's paid off for both teams. You look at Ray Alfala chasing down Kenny Humpy in 6. You look at Chris Overland, top 5 in points as well. He's running in the top 10. There's a lot of drivers that are benefiting from this Last Row Motorsports, Slip Angle Motorsports technical alliance. These guys sharing notes and sharing some setups throughout the 2 weeks getting ready for this event. Up in front, the 36 and the 5 have pulled away a little bit over Cody Bias and the rest of the freight train that is the field in round number 4 of this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing event. The 2 looking after the 58 a little bit there, Tony. Ray Alfala's won twice here. He's looking for a 3rd victory at the Texas Motor Speedway.
It would be unprecedented to see Ray Alfala, a 3-time winner at a track in the very young history of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, but tonight he's trying to do just that. Currently running in the 6th spot with only 5 laps complete this time by. Very quickly, Ray Alfala seems to have already asserted himself near the front of the field as a force to be reckoned with here in Texas.
So far, the group's starting to break away from each other. Your top 2 getting away from the rest of the field. One of the climbers right now is a 29 at Kevin King. He just got around that 34 machine, it looks like. He looks like he's now looks like the 83 of Alex Warren's going to get around that 34 of Matt Busa as well. Kevin King came into this race back in position number 10. Now he's all the way in position number 8. And I've got a feeling, guys, Kevin King is not done climbing just yet.
Just behind them in this pack, we were looking at the 34 of Matt Boos, the 47 of Chris Overland. Schoenberg is in this little battle as well, but Matt Boos is one of those drivers, Tony, that's had a couple of good runs, but he's also had good runs being spoiled by wrecks, altercations. I believe he was the one that was flipping last week or 2 weeks ago at the Auto Club Speedway. He sits in the top 20 in points, but he's 52 points behind the point leader as he tries to hold off the 47 of Chris Overland for the position. Watch for Matt Busa to be strong here this evening if he can put a 167-lap run together.
And that's going to be the key, Tim. Matt Busa, as you said, has been very fast, just has not had the finishes to show for it, and hopefully Texas can be the turnaround for his season. We're only a handful of races into the season, but because of the short season, every race is imperative. And Matt Busa is hoping that this one can be one that he can put on the calendar and say, look, that's where my season turned around. As you ride on board with the number 34, you see that double clutch Menard Chevrolet behind him of Chris Overland. And just ahead of him is the number 83 of Thomas Davis. About 3 car lengths ahead, and way up ahead of him, here goes Michael Conti. Mike Conti, the Abuto Chevrolet, gets by Justin Bolton, move the defending series champion to the point at the conclusion of lap number 9.
And as he crosses the start-finish line, it is official. Michael Conti gets the bonus point for leading 1 lap here on the field, and he will continue to lead over Justin Bolton, Cody Bias, Chad Lawton, Kenny Humpy. Your top 5, Kevin King moves up 2 positions as well. And now who's looking to threat? Who's looking to be a threat in this race? It's Ray Alfala, the number 2 machine, the Stoco Productions Ford Fusion. He's now position number 7 and climbing through this field. Guys, let's put this in perspective real quick. After tonight's race, we will be a quarter of the way done through this season. We will be 1/4 done with everything out here. If that doesn't put it in perspective for you, Tim, I don't know what will. This race is going to put a fire under a couple guys for sure.
I think you already have a couple of fires lit under some of these drivers, Joe, especially ones that have had that one bad race already. You're allowed to drop one bad race in your first 12, and then those final 4 races that comprise this series, you have to count towards your point total and your championship total. I think there's some fires already lit, especially if you're a guy like Matt Busa and you're 52 points behind the leader. You watch the battle here for 3rd and 4th. These are 2 drivers that have had stellar seasons so far. You look at Cody Bias in the 27, Chad Lawton in the 26. They're in the top 4 in the point standings. They're in the top 4 in the race here. They're on the team. They're on the same team that Justin Bolton, Kevin King, Kenny Humpy, and the rest of those guys that they put together that's power stable, they're looking pretty good so far. But there's some other drivers in this series. Obviously, Nick Ottinger not here. We mentioned Brian Blackford from last week. There's a couple of drivers. Byron Daly missed a race already this season. There's some big names that really need to light that fire, per se, and I really wouldn't wait until next week. I'd start it right now.
Well, you're certainly right. You don't have it. Well, you got a point there, Tony or Tim. We don't have a rest of the season. We do have right now, but I think the point I'm trying to make is, with the season being a quarter of the way done after this week, with a season being rapidly winding down, every race matters. Every race counts, and as we get closer and closer, these guys start the gravity of that situation. It starts to come into play. And you see it in guys like Cody Bias and Chad Lawton and Kenny Humpy. Certainly, the gravity isn't lost on him, or Ray Alfalla, who's in the top 10. Or how about Chris Overland, who's currently running top 10. The gravity of the situation continues to get heavier every single race. There's a lot of guys who know that. One guy is Brad Davies. The 11 machine just got around the 55. So score Brad Davies now in position number 11. Schoenberg goes down to position number 12, and now Brian Day might be trying to get around Schoenberg as well.
Going back to P3 here with the number 27 and 26. You got the 26 taking the spot on Cody Bias. Now they have their teammate behind them, or two teammates behind them, with Kenny Humpy and Kevin King. And then you have the Vision of Flight Ford of Ray Alfalla sitting there in position number 7. A new paint for that car, and new sponsor with Vision of Flight this week on the Slip Angle Motorsports Ford Fusion. And you look up to the leader, Mike Conti. He's got some new colors on that race car as well. Segpay coming on board this week to support the defending champion of this series. So a couple of drivers sporting some new paint. We obviously talked about Brad Mahar and Justin Trombley switching teams. There goes the 2 car. He's taking flight. Ray Alfalla picks up one more. I think there's about a half dozen or so, Joe, that have new paint throughout this field, and I'm sure we'll see them throughout the next 150 laps.
As you ride on the board, the 2 of Ray Alfalla starting to hunt the number 58 of Kenny Humpy. Yeah, Alfalla's had a good night here so far. He was only 18th fastest in practice, started 8th in the grid, has now moved up 2 positions, and you see him really starting to get a little bit of aggression out there, and he's starting to get the hunt in him, if you will. I think the gravity of the situation, it will not be lost on your 2-time champion as he tries to duck around the 58. Won't happen this time, maybe next time around. Each of these drivers racing from the comfort of their own home. If you want to join them, we've got a great deal for you. Go to iRacing.com, use our promo code 2015-PSRTV. You see it there on the bottom of your screen, 2015-PSRTV. You buy one month of iRacing, we will give you 2 free. Plus, we'll also throw in the late model as well, so you can get yourself accustomed to closed wheel racing on oval tracks, just like they do it here in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing.com. iRacing.com, use our promo code 2015-PSRTV. Buy 1 month, get 2 free, and we'll give you the late model as well as we continue to run laps here at Texas Motor Speedway.
We're looking at Michael J. Johnson right now in the number 39 car, running back in 17th position. That's exactly where he started. He's just past the 3 of Brandon Schmidt by the looks of it, as he falls to 18th that time by Corey Vincent. Just made the move that last lap by the stripe. You see Brad Mahar, David Rattler, Byron Daly ahead of them. And Tony, there's a couple of drivers there that had it coming together at the Auto Club Speedway to bring out a caution, Byron Daly and David Rattler. And it doesn't look like they've left each other since the start of the race. They started 19th and 20th. They're up to 14th and 15th right now, Byron being the snowplow per se and getting Rattler through this field.
You know, if you knew Byron Daly, to think of him as a fullback, it would be kind of ironic, or at least awkward to say the least. Very small statured man, but he is being the fullback right now for David Rattler, and those two both have moved up 5 spots as up front. Looks like we're changing things once again. Justin Bolton back to the top of the scoreboard, 22 laps in the books, and Bolton is the leader once again and getting back by Michael Conti, while Lawton, Bias, and Humpy continue to give chase as well. And of note, looks like the rest of the field has started to reel these guys in, Joe. Now the question is that Justin Bolton and Mike Conti kind of taking it easy, or is it setups going away and the rest of the field slowly reeling them in?
One word, Tony, that I've got for you here. Ready for it? Tires. That's what you're going to start to see come into play here more sooner rather than later. The rubbers on these cars are starting to get wore down. This track in Texas is a little abrasive. We probably should have mentioned that at the beginning of the show. This track is a little abrasive, 4.5-mile track, so these tires are going to wear down a little bit faster, especially if they drive them hard, which so far, no shortage of hard driving here at the Great American Speedway. So what you're seeing now is not necessarily the setups going away, but more the tires starting to give way. And as we all know, the older the tires are, the less fast you're going to run on the track. So tires are going to be an issue here, and you're going to start to see that come into play early here at Texas.
You see the 55 there of Brian Schoenberg through this field, and he's trying to pick up some positions here at this juncture of this race. And you mentioned tires, Joe. I was talking to competition director of Aftermath Motorsports, Dylan Duval, and I asked him, I said, what are you thinking for pit window? He said approximately 50 to 55 laps, depending how the cautions fall. I can't completely tell you our strategy, but he said look around 50 to 55 if you guys are seeing some green flag pit stops on this race. So Brian Schoenberg, I'm sure, is screaming in that race car right now, wanting some more grip, as we have a new second-place driver. David Rattler is going to make his way past Schoenberg for position number 15, as Chad Lawton has moved up. Cody Bias is also going to make the move on the 5. The 58 of Kenny Humpy going to try to follow through as well. And the team, Tony, is coming to the front.
Tim, we're about halfway through a fuel run, 26.5 laps complete now. That's right on the verge where most teams told us, as you said, when they anticipate pitting. Michael Conti's car apparently set up for the short run here tonight. It looks like he is not anticipating this race, at least at the end, to go very long. But right now, he's got to work on that Abuto and second pace Chevrolet, because he is ready to cash it in right now. He has dropped 4 or 5 spots in the last 5 laps, from leading all the way back to 6th, and he continues to lose time to the leader, Justin Bolton, and everybody else as you ride on board with Conti, the New Jersey driver. Next person to give a stab at Michael Conti's spot is the number 29, the Californian Kevin King. And look, he is hunting like Jaws. Cue the music, Joe. Here comes the shark that is Kevin King.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're absolutely right. Kevin King, he is coming in a hurry for Michael Conti, and I think you're absolutely right about his setup. He is set up perfectly for the short run. The good news of the 5 is, if we start seeing cautions late, he knows exactly what he needs in order to get up front. But that short run setup is hard on those virtual Goodyears underneath, and that's why you saw him get shuffled 4 positions back real quick. Because without tire management, there's no way to keep a great control over that car when you're racing on this very abrasive surface. So Conti, he's gonna, when he comes in for green flag pit stops, which we anticipate in about 20 laps or so, he's going to need to figure out something to do with this car to make it more stable for the mid-game, and then bring it back to where it is now for potentially the end game when we see cautions. And boys, as we all know, cautions breed cautions, which I've got a feeling we will see at the end of the show tonight.
And you know, when you look at it, is Conti trying to hold on over Kevin King. King now looking to the inside of the 5 of Conti. The 83 of Thomas Davis also taking a peek underneath the Obuto Gaming Cockpit's number 5. Brian Schoenberg, his teammate, falling back a little bit. He started 12th back to 17th. Brad Davies, Byron Daly, 13th, 14th. They're still moving forward.
Nearly Brandon Schmidt on the back straightaway, just about cashed it in. And now Brian Schoenberg is sideways in the 55 in the middle of turns 3 and 4. That happened just around the same spot. Somehow Schmidt was able to hold on to it. Same with Brian Schoenberg. Miraculously will stay green 32 laps into the run.
What a strange turn of events for the 3 and the 55, but this could be the tire management, guys. we've been talking about all night with all these drivers out here. This could be the tire management starting to come into play, but it's hard to say. Only time will tell as we continue to run green flag pit stops slated for about 50 laps. We may see them earlier if those kind of issues continue to happen.
Up in front of the field, we have the 26 chasing down the 36. You see the replay in the box of what just happened there, but it looks like we might have a battle brewing for the top spot here as Chad Lawton has run down the leader, Justin Bolton, in car number 36. The 27.58 to complete your top 5 here, but I think Lawton's got something here for his teammate.
I think he does, Tim. He has kind of laid in wait. It hasn't really been very strong early, but this has been characteristic of Chad Lawton we've seen over the years. Don't burn the car up early. Let the race and the run and the stint come to you. That's exactly what he has done. As you're right on board the roof of that number 26, working his way out of turn number 4, and you see Justin Bolton immediately in front of him. And it looks like Lawton will take his Chevrolet to the bottom of the racetrack. And yes, Chad Lawton says, put me in front. I want to break the win for the field. Lawton, new leader, 34.5 laps in.
Well, Chad Lawton will certainly get in front of the field, and he will certainly part the tunnel for everybody, if you will, as Chad Lawton moves up front. Justin Bolton now in second. Cody Bias, Kenny Humpy, your top 4. And very interesting dynamic here you see, guys. The team controlling 4 of the top 5 spots and at least 5 of the top 10 as they continue to run incredibly dominant out here. Now, this only bodes well for them, especially if we get back to green flag pit stops. You know why? All 4 of these guys are going to be able to come in as one big unit. They're going to be able to come in, get what they need, and get back out on track and effectively not lose any position or not lose anything to them on track. They'll be able to get back up to pace very, very quickly. And because as we all know, at a track like this, 4 cars run a heck of a lot stronger than 1.
And don't count out Kevin King or Thomas Davis back there as well within the top 10 on the team. So there's a lot of drivers that are in the top 10 right now. There's more team members, let's say, in the top 10 than there is any other racing organization, though Ray Alfala and Chris Oberlin from the Slip Angle Last Row Motorsports conglomerate running in 5th and 6th place right now. Busa and Brian Day completing your top 10, and Conti has fallen all the way to position number 11, back to where his teammate is thereabouts, Tony. Byron Daly running in 13th. Davies has fallen back to 16th, and then you look on down through the list, Brian Schoenberg and a couple of others at the back of the pack. I believe Thomas Lewandowski is back there somewhere. He's in 31st place. Danny Hansen's in 30th. So that team has a couple of drivers that are near the front of the field, and then a few drivers that are really struggling off the hop here at Texas.
That seems to be the case, Tim. A little bit of kind of a polarity of sorts between team members in a lot of cases. But while you highlight the guys that are coming and not so much going, let's look at some of the while you highlight the guys that are going backwards, let's highlight some of the guys that are coming forwards. Tyler Hudson started 33rd. He's up 9 spots to 24th. Just ahead of him, PJ Sturgis. He is up 16 spots. He started 38th. The 57 is up to 22nd. Brandon Schmidt, despite his slide a little bit earlier, he's up 7 spots to the 18th spot after starting 25th. So a lot of guys moving forward. Even Danny Hansen in the 43, who started last on the field, he is up 13 spots up to position number 30. So it looks like it's kind of a tale of 2 cities, so to speak. Interestingly enough, we're in Dallas-Fort Worth, almost a couple of twin cities, at least in the south. But guys coming, guys going, and it almost seems to be the same pace for each one, Joe.
Certainly right. They say everything is bigger in Texas, and the competition is getting a whole lot bigger as we get ready for green flag pit stops. I'm looking at the battle back from about 20th on back, guys. Brandon Bowie leading 2 lines of racing, well, was 2 lines of racing. PJ Sturgis, Brad Davies, Ben Burmeister in that mix as well. 2 seasons ago champion Tyler Hudson in the midst of that battle as well. And these guys back here, they may not have the tires, but it's not stopping them from doing a little bit of battle and trying to see what happens on 2 lanes with older tires on the track. And so far, the consensus is pretty clear, guys. Run the low line and run it as hard as you can, because that's where you're going to pick up the speed on the track.
15 and 66 getting together there, almost. Benjamin Burmeister, Patrick Crabtree almost having a moment for P21 and 22. Tyler Hudson behind this battle. He goes underneath the LRM number 66 of Burmeister to try to put him back one more spot. That's the battle for P22. See if we can go back here a few more positions and go back to Alex Warren, who just passed Danny Hansen for P32 as the 2 Drill Isle teammates battle behind him. We have Alex Warren as the highest Aftermath Motorsports driver right now in the field. We talked about that split. He's running 32nd right now. His teammates, Tony, Trey Eidson's running 36, which isn't too bad. Then you have Tyler Laughlin 39th, Tyler Hill 40th, Adam Gilliland 41st. Their highest running driver right now is Thomas Lewandowski, and the 16, and the 32, check that, of Danny Hansen make the move on Alex Warren, is now 34th, and Landon Harrison trying to dispatch Warren in the core pipe car back to 35th.
Wow, that is not good, Tim, if you're part of the Aftermath Motorsports group, and there will be some aftermath after Texas if things continue like that through the course of this race. And that was one of the things that we heard rumor of, Tim, was that there were some contingents about some of these people and their setup knowledge and their ability to do different things within the organizations. Others who felt they could or couldn't and whatnot, and that was part of what facilitated the split. It looks like, at least at this juncture, Joe, that at least the Aftermath group is struggling on the 1.5 miles, because this is not a performance that you want to see. I hate to draw the comparison, but with so much promise and so much talent in one organization, it really reminds me of a Roush Fenway Racing. I mean, they're in the same boat in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. So much talent, such great financing, such a great organization, and they've yet to find their way. They are scratching their heads in 2015, and I think Aftermath Motorsports is kind of in the same boat right now.
You're certainly right, and it goes back to the silly season that we've been talking about all season. This season, so far, of all the schedules that we have run of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, this one is the most contentious for the silly season ruminations alone. We've had how many drivers jump ship? We've had shops close. We've had new shops open. We've had guys go left and right, all in chase of what? In chase of that trophy, in chase of that $10,000, and in chase of that honor of being called NASCAR champion.
It looks like Brian Schoenberg put the hand out the window the last time by, so that might be our first driver to come onto pit road, Tony, and he was screaming the last couple of laps. He's down on pit road right now getting service to Brogy Consulting, number 55. Lap 48 might be a little bit early, but it's in the window.
It's in the window for this run, Tim, but I would think you try to stretch to 55, even 56 laps to make it on 2 stops if this race continues to go green. So Schoenberg, I think at this point, hoping that everything cycles out and he can take full advantage of these fresh tires and then get a quick caution to right himself and get everybody back down pit road. On that same note, it looks like a lot of drivers are fighting conditions pretty common here in Texas, Joe. They're getting very, very tight, particularly off exit of the corners, turn 2, even turn 4. And you see a lot of these cars bobbing and weaving. You think, that's not tight, that's loose as all get out. Well, it is, but it's kind of a push loose. You just have that wheel crank, the wheel crank, the wheel crank, and then finally it grips and it kind of wants to swing you around and snap the car out from under you, Joe. So I think the right front tires, at least the front tires for sure, getting a workout here at Texas, and that seems to be the key factor. If you can make the front tires work and last longer than anybody else, you should be good towards the end of a run. Looking further back to the Kenny Humpy machine. Look at the dirt on that 58 car, trying to get by Cody Bias. Already debris flying all over the racetrack. And look who else has joined that battle, Tim. Ray Alfala, quietly now inside the top 5, just stalking his prey, waiting to pounce. It's almost like a lynx or a cougar or something out there, Ray Alfalla, very, very methodical in how he approaches each one of these races.
He hasn't really lost this battle from the top 4, which is comprised of the team, but you look at the 2 and you look at the 58. The 58 hasn't led a lap yet. The 2 hasn't led a lap yet. Could these guys possibly be saving something for the longer run? It looks like at this point, Tony, at least from what we're seeing, Chad Lawton has the best long run car. 58 past the 27 here on the front straightaway. And it looks like the 2 going to look at the 27, possibly for one more spot. Could this very well be Chad Lawton being a stronger long-run car than the rest of his teammates?
That could be the case, Tim. It could be driver preference. There are certain drivers that end up liking tracks or how a car feels here versus another driver. That's just kind of one of those things that separates different drivers at different racetracks. I think Chad Lawton, he's always been very good here in Texas, and when you get a good setup underneath you, there's not a whole lot you can do to really stop that driver from being competitive. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, Nick Ottinger, who's normally the perennial favorite on a mile-and-a-half racetrack, is not here. And guess what? That opens the door for somebody else to go to victory lane. You see this one car slicing through the leaders? That is the number 37 of Stephen Gilbert. He is being scored 11 laps down in his Ford. But what that did do, it opened the door for Ray Alfalla to get by Cody Bias, move Ray Alfalla now up to position number 4.
And Kenny Humpy up to position number 2 as his teammate works up on Bolton and himself for the new tires, making the work on the speedway for the 50 or the 37 of Stephen Gilbert. We got a lot of guys coming down pit road, including some of the drill aisle teammates, the 50 or the 5 and the 32.
And the leader is on pit road as well. Chad Lawton, the 26 car, peeled off from the head of the field. Comes down at a very slow 50 miles per hour. First of what we anticipate to be at least 2 stops here today. Lawton's into the stall, hits his mark, crew is over the wall. Right side is in the air. Virtual Goodyear Racing Eagles being changed. 5 off, 5 on. They'll wipe the grill, clear debris, a tear off the windshield. 2 tires on the left side, a full tank of virtual Sunoco fuel, and Chad Lawton is down and away, the first of the leaders to hit pit road.
Virtually everybody down on pit road on this lap here, at least for the team. Kenny Humpy, Justin Bolton, Kevin King, among them coming onto pit road on this lap. The 58 stops in his box and is going to take right side tires, pack it full of fuel. And now Ray Alfalla going to come down at the other end of pit road. So all your leaders coming down here, Tony, within 3 or 4 laps.
And Alfalla, I believe, will be credited with leading a lap the last time by. We'll check scoring on that. But the Visions of Flight, number 2, sporting new colors this week for the Slip Angle Motorsports Group. He comes down to the attention of his crew. A little different colors, hits the mark, no problem. Again, crew over the wall. It'll be 5 off and 5 on. 2 brand new Goodyear Virtual Racing Eagles. And while you got to fill the tank up, might as well take the others. We've seen grip at a premium. No noticeable chassis adjustments on the 2. He is down and away. Once again, Ray Alfalla will rejoin the fray.
Alfalla coming off pit road. Chris Overland will follow in right behind him. Patrick Crabtree, the 15, coming off pit road. No significant changes for him. 4 tires, full tank of fuel, down and away. And we should be just about complete with this set of green flag pit stops. Everybody runs clean. Up here comes the 0-1 of Tyler Hudson. As soon as I say that, here comes Tyler Hudson down on pit road. And so far, everybody running very clean pit stops. No major problems down on pit road. This could bode well for the rest of the race.
The only one I believe that is still out on the racetrack is coming down now, which is Benjamin Burmeister in the Last Row Motorsports number 66. He will surrender what was second the last time by and come down onto pit road. Scribner might be the only other one. The 50 car will take the lead here and will be scored as your leader. That's Alex Scribner, Tyler Hill, Trey Eidson, some of the Aftermath Motorsports guys, Tony, that have been struggling in the first 60 laps of this race, staying out and trying to lead a lap here.
Here's the good news for them, though, Joe or Tim. By going this long, by making a 60-lap run, you can make this guaranteed now on 2 stops if the race goes green. Is it the fastest strategy? Maybe not, but it could be strategy enough to win the race for the Aftermath crew. And if that was the plan all along, by golly, they will look genius at the end of this one. But this is the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing. plans don't always go according to how you drew them out. You've got to improvise a little bit throughout the course of the night. Tyler Hill and Trey Eidson might have to do that. Very reduced speed for those cars makes me think they have a target number they're trying to hit, Joe. They're trying to get to a certain lap, and this might be it. Hill on the binder, same with Eidson. Both of those Chevrolet SS machines down to the attention of their crews. They're pitted closer up towards turn number 4. Tyler Hill is in. Trey Eidson is in. It will be 4 tires and fuel for both of the Aftermath Motorsports Chevrolet. New leader on the racetrack will be Chad Lawton, as pit stop cycles looks like they are now finished here at Texas for round 1.
Very interesting maneuver for both the 6 and the 9, as Tyler Hill now comes off pit road and will be joined by Trey Eidson very shortly. Very interesting maneuver. We were just talking about them being towards the back of the field. Guys, maybe, just maybe, they're playing this race backwards. What if we're seeing these guys play the race backwards just a little bit in order to preserve what they have to, preserve their gear, and run this race hard at the end of it when nobody else has the same gear? Tony and I have had long discussions about how racing is not a linear sport, and the fact that you don't have to run first the entire way to win the race. You can run 38, 39, 40, and if you know what you're doing, can slowly work your way up. Guys, if they're doing this, if Aftermath is doing this approach to Texas, it could be brilliant.
It could be brilliant. We talked about this before, where we have a couple of drivers on one strategy, a couple of drivers on the other, and it'd be close at the end of the race. If this thing does go green for the duration, I think you're right. I think it's going to be close, but we'll have to see what strategy comes out. Right now, Chad Lawton's strategy is equated to a 2 1/4 second lead on Kenny Humpy, Justin Bolton, Ray Alfala, and Chris Overland. Your top 5. Tony, the big loser on that pit stop was Cody Bias. He went from battling for the lead position to 7.5 seconds behind in position number 6. He lost about 5 seconds on the racetrack when he came down pit road before and after his stop.
Yeah, Tim, you're exactly right. And Cody Bias it didn't seem to be a real slow entry on the pit road. Now, mind you, when he tried coming into his stall, Brandon Bowie and Casey Tucker were in front of him, but I don't think that was enough to really get him stalled up to where he had to jump on the binders, anything unreasonable. Just maybe a slow stop and a slow in-lap or out-lap for Cody Bias. Either way, the result now, like you said, he is 7 3/4 seconds behind the leader, Chad Lawton. And this round of pit stops for sure, Joe, has spread the field out. In fact, the top 10 cars are spread out over the course of 11 seconds. Closest battle for position on the racetrack is back for the 8th spot. That's where Kevin King leads Brian Day, Thomas Davis, and Brad Mahar, a 4-car pack as they make their way off turn 4.
But up front, it is Chad Lawton, and he has got a 2-second lead over Kenny Humpy, 3.5 over Justin Bolton, and 4.5 over Ray Alfala. Lawton on an island right now, all by himself. He has got nothing to worry about. Is the good news and potentially the bad news for everybody else out there.
Bit of side-by-side for 19th and 20th as Brian Schoenberg falls back a couple of positions. That's PJ Sturgis and Corey Vincent making the move on the 55, as he will fall back now to position number 21. So it looked like Schoenberg came out around the 15th place after pit stops, Tony, but it looks like he's falling back a little bit. Next on the list would be Casey Tucker, Byron Daly, Nathan Wise. Back there behind him within about 1.5 seconds of the number 55 car. And they're looking for a good run. I know Brian's struggled the first couple of races here. He's really looking to turn around his season.
He is, Tim, and I know everybody sees April Fool's Day pranks online, on Facebook and the like, and Schoenberg had a good one this year. He was retiring from the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, and what made his so believable is the absolute horrid season he has had so far this season in 2015, but he came out and said it was an April Fool's joke. He's going to keep digging, trying to get things working as he continues to soldier on in the 21st spot. And while we're at it, Tim, we got a lot of cool people on Twitter right now tuning in with the hashtag InPass. You can also use the hashtag iRacing Night on any of our Tuesday night broadcasts. Heck, use them both for that matter, and we can track them down on Twitter. But a lot of people playing commentary of their own, looking at this race here tonight, Joe. And that's one thing I love about this series. We've got such passionate fans about certain drivers and teams, and some that just love this year's sport. of racing, be it virtual or otherwise, and it's really cool to see all that encompassed here in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series.
Well, this sport has always been about fan participation. This sport has always encouraged fan participation. And frankly, that the interactiveness of this sport is what makes it so vibrant, what makes it so unique as opposed to any other sport you may find out there in the world, which is very exciting. It's always a lot of fun to see fans give their opinions and really give their hearts out to it, because you know they're passionate about it, and that's certainly not a bad thing.
Watching this close battle between the 93, 55 up almost into Casey Tucker, I believe that was. And that 55 car, they're trying just to keep a handle on it right now. Behind him, he now has the likes of Brandon Bowie and Benjamin Burmeister. They're side by side behind them with Ackley. And I believe that might be Brad Davies. There's a lot of exciting competition going on here outside of this top 20. Got Schoenberg under fire once again from the 54, the 66, now underneath the number 55. Schoenberg going the wrong way. But Tony, it's one thing to go the wrong way, at least if you're in the race. We had a tweet from Brandon Hoff saying they completely missed it again tonight. Hoff, out of the drivers that did attempt to take time, and there was 44 that took time plus a couple of provisionals, he was dead last when it came to the timesheet. They're struggling with this new rules package that came out a couple of weeks ago. 55 down almost towards the apron. That car just does not look happy.
No, it is all over the racetrack, Tim. It looks ugly, evil, I mean, it's just, it's unhinged right now for Brian Schoenberg. I don't know what adjustments, if any, they made on the last stop, but whatever they did, they need to figure something out to fix this race car. Brian Schoenberg has got his hands full, and it would not surprise me, Joe, to see Brian Schoenberg as the first caution of the race. He almost got caught up in an incident earlier, was able to hang on to it. This time by himself, he is all over the racetrack, and it is not pretty by any means. Meanwhile, up front, Chad Lawton, well, guess what? He's got some traffic in front of him, and one of those cars, notably, Joe, is Danny Hansen. Hansen was a lap down, passed Chad Lawton to get back on the tail end of the lead lap, and he has stayed there. If we get a caution, Danny Hansen would be scored on the lead lap.
You beat me to the punch. You're absolutely right. This is where that 32 of Danny Hansen is begging for a caution. He really needs something to come out here because he would get his lap back without having to mess around with being a lucky dog or anything. So Danny Hansen, if anybody, he needs his caution flag, but I don't think he's going to get it as the 2-6 of Chad Lawton goes low, gets underneath him, and he's going to get around him, putting that 32 of Danny Hansen, the SegPay Ford, back into under one lap down, and Chad Lawton continues to move forward, but not before Kenny Humphrey and company can pick up a little distance on him as a result of the traffic.
And that was a pass for the free pass position. Adam Gilliland now in the free pass position in the Gary Mercer Trucking number 8. He has the 32 who almost got the wall there at a corner number 4. Danny Hansen in the SegPay number 32 has a complete handful. You looked out the rear deck a couple of moments ago from the 26 of Chad Lawton. That third car that you saw back there, that's at a distance, that is getting closer. That's Kenny Humphrey. It's the 32 of Danny Hansen down middle of the racetrack there. It almost looked like he lost a little bit of control of that race car at a corner number 2. He is struggling like his teammate Brian Schoenberg right now. Tough break for Danny Hansen. Danny is a former winner in this series, Tony. He's won at Charlotte, so he likes this type of racetrack. It's just a matter of trying to get a grip of this new rules package.
Exactly, Tim. You don't have nearly the downforce or nearly the horsepower that you used to have in these cars. And some of these drivers like that. Some of these drivers can't quite get their hands around it just yet. And apparently the Aftermath bunch with Danny Hansen and others could be classified as the latter. Cannot quite get their hands around it. And the other thing, I think Hansen made his bet that he would get a caution flag and be able to stay in front of Chad Lawton, or at least in front of somebody to be able to stay on the free or in the free pass position. That gamble has not paid off. In fact, the dice now are starting to roll out snake eyes for Danny Hansen. But the guy who does have the dice rolling the right way is Kenny Humphrey. And Joe, it was a statement last week when Humphrey won at Auto Club 2 out of the first 3 races. If Humphrey can take his Chevrolet to victory lane again, and win 3 out of the first 4, by golly, that is phenomenal. And I think it solidifies him as the guy you will have to beat to win a championship.
Sir, well, not so fast, my friend. Just because we're at the quarter-way of the season doesn't mean things cannot change on a dime, which we've seen them happen before here in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Remember 2 seasons ago when Ottinger was so strong, we were like, there's no way he couldn't walk away with his championship. But then a guy from driving the 0-1 machine by the name of Tyler Hudson ended up getting up front and walking away with it. The season, for although being a quarter of the way done, there's still a lot of racing left to go. We got a lot of different tracks to hit, and one track is not a season to make.
Up front, it continues to be Chad Lawton by a 1.5 seconds over Kenny Humphrey, closing in on the halfway point in round number 4 of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. The 58 makes the move on the SegPay 32 with Danny Hansen to put him in the rearview mirror. Justin Bolton 3.5 seconds behind Kenny Humphrey, and he is in a little bit of traffic with Tyler Hill directly in front of him. Ray Alfala 4th, and towing along his teammate Chris Overland in 5th. In between them is Trey Eidson in the number 6. So there's a couple of Aftermath Motorsports drivers trying to reroute the struggle bus, Tony, that is currently plaguing that team.
And it takes a lot to turn a bus around, Tim. You ever go to the summer shootout at Charlotte Motor Speedway? It takes a lot to get a bus to change direction. They find that out in the quarter mile there every week during the summer. And struggle bus, school bus, whatever it is, there's a yeoman's effort to get the thing turned 180 degrees, heading the other direction. And that's what Aftermath is going to have to do. Interesting note, though, speaking of turning around the other direction, it's starting to get that way for Chad Lawton. Here's what I'm looking at, guys. You go from 22nd back to 34th. That's 13 cars that are less than 10 seconds ahead of the leader, Chad Lawton, all in danger of going a lap down within this particular stint, I would think. So Chad Lawton is setting a torrid pace. 85 laps into the race, we just passed the halfway point, and Chad Lawton has proven himself, at least so far, to be the guy that you're going to have to beat if you want to win at Texas.
And I think this is why a lot of people, including the Twitter audience, is begging for a caution flag. I've been reading these tweets down and over again, and every third one, where's the caution flag? Where's the caution flag? Well, the good news is these guys are racing so well tonight, we might not see one. Though, that being said, I may have jinxed it. We'll have yet to see. The bad news is because there's no caution flag, it's all going to be based on pit stops now. This race, if we continue to go green, guys, could be won or lost on pit road.
And it could very well be, and they're coming up on some more pit stops, probably in about 15 to 20 laps or so, at least those guys that pitted around that lap 50 mark. Continuing to be up front, Chad Lawton, Kenny Humphrey continues to try to get into that lead a little bit, but Kenny's in some lap traffic now, the 8 and the 51. T. Loff and Adam Gilliland directly in front of your second place driver, and they are side by side, so the teammates trying to hold up the 58 possibly a little bit. You look at the 5 as well on your screen of Michael Conti, who's lost a couple of positions here in the last couple of laps. He just lost one to Thomas Davis and Brad Mahar to move him back to P11.
And that's exactly the same pattern we saw at the outset of the race. Conti, great for 20 laps, pretty good for another dozen, and junk for the next 20 or 30 laps of the run. Looks like they have not fixed the SegPay Butto Chevrolet of Michael Conti, as he is back now outside the top 10 in 11th, trying to chase down Brad Mahar, and fended off challenges very shortly from Matt Busa in the 34th. Quick note, as we button up the Michael Conti story from earlier about running Legends cars, guys, you notice a different paint scheme on the number 5. That's a paint scheme he put on this car to kind of mimic some of his past schemes, pay tribute to them, but also a scheme he plans on running in Legends competition. So kind of a cool deal to see the merging of efforts on Michael Conti's part. And the good news is when he comes to Concord, or even if he comes to the summer shootout this year at Charlotte, we'll know which car is Michael Conti.
Certainly no doubt about that as we ride along board one of these cars. Guys, this is where strategy comes into play. This is where you have to start making those chess moves early in order to figure out where you want to be later on in this race.
We'll look at the number 39 of Michael J. Johnson, the in-car view or the in-sim view, whatever you want to call it. We're looking at his webcam, working at him working. You talk about the different hardware that some of these drivers have. Tony's got a button box there that makes everything a little bit easier. Yes, you're driving along, but if you want to make a change or you want to get into TeamSpeak or your voice communication, you hit that button. It makes everything just so much easier. There's a lot of great button box makers and different things that are coming out of that. So great to see Michael J. Johnson using that technology.
It's no different, Tim, than an actual race car. You want as many tools at your disposal as possible to work your machine to the best of your ability and to its maximum capabilities. That's what the button box does. It lets you adjust on the fly. It lets you focus on driving. It lets you talk to different people in your crew as far as your spotter, crew chief, strategist, whoever, whatever. Just set up a sim rig for ARCA driver Sarah Cornet-Ching a couple of weeks ago for her to get on iRacing, and it was very similar. There were so many buttons we had to get set up to where she was comfortable in the virtual race car as much as she is in the real race car. As problems for Brad Davies, you saw him hit the wall at a turn 2, and that thing is a handful right now. But to follow up on that, it just shows you how realistic, again, this sim is, Joe, because drivers that go from physical cars to virtual cars and vice versa, they have almost the exact same requirements for comfort, for familiarity, for all the little things they like to have in a cockpit. It's really absolutely incredible to see all the crossover between the two.
Well, as we've talked about over and over and time again in this series, this is no longer just a video game. This is no longer just something we do for amusement. This is becoming more and more a tool. It is a simulation of what you can expect when climbing into a real car, and as close to being in a real car as you can get without spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on fire suits and helmets and fuel and getting to the track and tires and actual track time. That's what this great thing, that's what the beautiful thing about this simulation is. As Brad Davies gets ready to go down pit road, he will break the seal for the second round of green flag pit stops as Brad Davies hits his stripe, and he will be the first driver down to his crew on pit road.
Tony, did you say Brian Schoenberg played an April Fool's joke last week?
I did, Tim, but I don't think tonight's an April Fool's joke by any means. He is retired from this one already.
Yeah, he's out of this race, and it's been a tough season for him. I'm sure it's not going to get any better here this evening. Brian Schoenberg, as you mentioned, retired from this evening's racing action, and with everybody, I believe, still on the racetrack except for Alan Bowes, he's probably going to fall to P42 at this point. Davies down and away in the number 11. He'll return to competition, albeit with a bent-up race car after getting that wall a couple of times through that mix when the leader, Chad Lawton, put him one lap down. Lawton continues to lead 1.4 seconds between himself and Kenny Humpy, and it looks like the 26 coming back up on some lap traffic, including Davies' teammate Thomas Lewandowski and Alex Scribner.
And while Lawton tries to negotiate that lap traffic, don't look now, but just 1.4 seconds behind. That is the 58, the best overhead doors machine of Kenny Humpy. He can see Chad Lawton. He's only about 20 or 25 car lengths behind the leader, Chad Lawton, and Humpy is digging. He has been picking up, mind you, hundredths to half-tenths every lap on Chad Lawton, but Kenny Humpy has been coming, and once again, he picks up another couple of hundredths of a second on Chad Lawton. Wow, what would it mean if Kenny Humpy can come home with 3 in a row here in the first 4 races of the season, Joe?
What do you think it would mean? That would be huge for his career. That would be huge for his opportunity here this in this series. It would be a huge boost to his championship campaign. Now, obviously, he wasn't thinking championship when he won at Daytona, when he won, not at Daytona, when he won the last 2 weeks in a row. But nonetheless, if he wins this one, makes it 3 in a row, you know he's got to be thinking championship. You know he's got to be looking straight towards everyone else and dropping the gauntlet and saying, here it is. Now what do you guys want to do? It's all up to you.
Up front, it continues to be Chad Lawton. We'll see if they decide to come down pit road this time by or stay out on the racetrack. Lap 100 will be completed by the team on the racetrack. Ray Alfalo, the first non-team driver in position number 4, and Chris Overland running in position number 5 as he navigates the number 9, a Tyler Hill, a lapped vehicle in corner number 1 and 2. So this is where all this pit strategy, Tony, starts to come to a head. I'm sure we're going to see some drivers down in the next 5 laps or so, knowing that they're probably going to be running on fumes, if not having to come down pit road one more time at the end of the race. Then you're going to have some guys that are going to come down pit road here, knowing that this is definitely going to be their final pit stop.
And I think some of those Aftermath Motorsports drivers will be some of the ones coming down knowing it is their final pit stop, barring a caution flag, of course. If we got a caution flag, an ill-timed one at that, it would throw a monkey wrench into this entire race. Everybody's strategies have been playing out the way they anticipated, but sometimes the unforeseeable and the inevitable will come to haunt you. And that's something I know Chad Lawton, Kenny Humphrey, they do not want to see. And in fact, Justin Bolton, Ray Alfalla as well. Speaking of those two, Alfalla has reeled in Justin Bolton. The two of them, they are separated by the Michael J. Johnson 39. But Ray Alfalla may be on course for a top 3 finish here tonight, guys.
And wouldn't that be a big move for him? That would be huge for him. After winning Daytona to have a 3rd place finish here, it doesn't get better than that.
But when you look at this top 5 right now, as the 2 car of Ray Alfalla runs around in that 4th place position, Chris Overland in position number 5, your top 5 on the racetrack, or your top 6 on the racetrack, are your top 5 in the point standings. Chad Lawton leads this race. He currently sits 2nd in the point standings. Kenny Humpy's your point leader. Justin Bolton sits in 6th in the point standings. Ray Alfalla in 3rd in the standings. Overland 5th, and Cody Bias is in 4th. So your top 6 on the racetrack, top 6 in the point standings, not necessarily, Tony, in that order, but it just goes to show that these guys seem to have their stuff together in the first 4 races.
They do, Tim. There is no doubt that that group they have the cars clicking and firing on all 8 cylinders, but sometimes somebody can come around and yank those plug wires right off of the plugs, and then you've got a problem. And we've seen that happen. We've seen flawless races go awry with a mistimed caution flag, an accident that you didn't have anything to do with, a failure on a computer, basically, essentially a mechanical failure on your racing rig. All kinds of things can go wrong, and that's something they're praying does not happen. As we've seen in seasons past, Joe, you can win a championship with a mistake, maybe 2 minor mistakes, but if you have big mistakes, a championship is not in the offing for you. And looking as well, speaking of mistakes and up front, Kenny Humpy has done a lot better job slicing through the lap traffic than Chad Lawton has. They've got heavy traffic in front of them right now. This is a prime opportunity for somebody to make a mistake that could affect somebody's race.
Well, you never want to see mistakes. You never want to see something crazy happen on track that could take out another driver or a gaggle of drivers. But there's a lot of drivers right now who could use a caution flag. That could use definitely something to their advantage to try to get these cars running as well they want them to. But one of the guys is Kenny Humpy, who continues to pick up time on Chad Lawton. That time, not a whole lot of time to be picked up. And right now, he's stabilizing out about 1.1 seconds away from Lawton. But you know he's digging, you know he's hungry, and if a yellow flag comes out, Kenny Humpy has the most to gain. And if that caution flag does come out, guys, I think he would be the guy, he would be in a much better place to make it 3 in a row than where he's at now.
Yeah, they might have to throw something at that race car on this pit stop, whether it is a quicker stop, hit all their marks, get out in front of the 26, or get a little closer to the teammate. Kenny Humpy definitely is, through this traffic, reeling in your leader. Chad Lawton, you see the 50 and the 74 of Scribner and Hurst now in between your top 2 drivers, with Landon Harrison behind, and it looks like Byron Daly now is going to be in between here as well. 74 and 50 have had a couple of moments here in these last couple of laps. They're racing hard for position, and they're trying to catch Byron Daly. In case that caution flag does come out, Tony, that would be your free pass.
That would be the free pass spot, and that was already a very, very heavily argued over spot on the racetrack, heavily contested, if you will. And Daly has it for the time being scored in 27th, but I know that's not where he wants to be in the Focus Energy Shot Toyota. might need to take a shot of that Focus Energy shot, Byron Daly. He's been all over the country in the last week, been to National Fairgrounds to attempt to test with Venerini Motorsports for the ARCA race this weekend. I don't think that went well. I think weather got the best of him there, and now he's under fire from Alex Scribner in the number 50. Again, that is for the free pass position, and all of this affecting the race for the lead as Kenny Humpy tries to slice and dice his way through in pursuit of Chad Lawton, and that just puts that much more weight on every single move you make on the racetrack. Speaking of the leaders and making moves, first one of the leaders is in. Chris Overland and Brad Mahar coming down pit road. Overland's service has completed. Mahar is on pit road right now, Joe.
Justin Bolton now will be the next one coming down pit road. Joining him will be the number, looks like the number 16 will be down there. Brian Blackford down there. Brandon Schmidt, Tom Lewandowski, Adam Gill, and all coming down pit road. Now Patrick Crabtree, Thomas Davies, a 4 of Brian Dale coming down the attention of their crew. Guys, it is pit stop time, and pit road getting very, very busy with all these drivers looking for 4 brand new tires and a full tank of fuel to get them through the second third of the race.
Quick stop for your former leaders, the 26 and the 58, Lawton and Humpy down and away. And Tony, it looks like the 26 may have got the better of the 58 on that exchange of pit stops. Humpy got a little bit loose coming through the gears as they are still on the apron getting ready to merge back onto the racetrack. I think on the pit out at least, the 26 got the best of the 58.
Maybe on the short little stint from the box to pit out, but I think overall it didn't change a whole lot. If it did anything, it might have improved for Kenny Humpy. He moves Michael Johnson out of the way and says, "Get out of my way. I've got places to be and people to pass," and that would be Chad Lawton. But I do believe the overall gap between the two stayed about the same, about 1.3 some seconds on track, as now Lawton trying to slice through traffic. Meanwhile, Kevin King being credited with the lead this last time. Ray Alfala going to be getting back up to speed after he came down pit road. He'll be bypassed by Justin Bolton and others. So only a handful of drivers out there still trying to pray for a caution flag so they can get on the same cycle and, for that matter, on the same lap as the leaders. Kevin King will come down pit road, Joe, and he'll bring his Chevrolet to the attention of the crew. Same with Matt Busa, who's been having a very quietly solid run all evening long. King is down. He'll come down from 50 miles an hour to a full stop in his stall, slightly overshoot the mark. The crew will go across the wall. Right side tires will be changed. A full tank of virtual Sunoco racing fuel. No visual chassis adjustments on the 29. Left side tire service is complete. They'll wipe the grill, pull a tear off. King, hard on the gas. He is out of the box, down and away. Only a handful more drivers, Joe, to cycle through pit stops before ultimately it'll be Lawton and Humpy at the front of the field once again.
Looks like it'll be the 54, Brandon Bowie, now coming down to pit road, and right behind him will be the 24 of Nathan Wides, also coming to the attention of his crew, as now he almost goes the rewind for a second on track. The 9, the 74, the 82, the 01, all gaggled up right now as everybody tries to figure out where exactly they're going to be when everything shuffles through and when we're back to racing and already in progress. The 9 of Tyler Hill looks like he's having a little bit of trouble right now. He was scored 6. He's getting past Ed Mass right now, and I believe, if I am correct, guys, he's one of the drivers who have not yet come down pit road. Here he comes as soon as I say that.
Byron Daly, as you mentioned, Tyler Hill also on pit road. The lead goes back to Chad Lawton by 1.6 seconds over Kenny Humpy, and they just worked through a ton of traffic. The winner here through these pit stops might be Chris Overland, because Overland now scored in position number 3 and possibly looking to gain some time here on this final stint. They've got 50 laps to go this time by, and Overland's got 3.5 seconds to gain on the top 2.
Plus, he's got 2 seconds back to Ray Alfala and another second on top of that to Cody Bias. So the double clutch Menards entry doing a good job for Eddie Walsick and company. He's glad to see Chris Overland having a very solid run here tonight at Texas at the Great American Speedway. But up front, looking at the gap between the leaders, Joe, it seems that Lawton, even though he was able to maybe lose a little bit of ground on pit road or at least keep it even, the first few laps after pit stops, he really stretches it out. The gap now almost 2 seconds back to Kenny Humpy. But Humpy, once we get 10 laps into a run, seems to be the faster car. The problem is, Humpy keeps running out of laps. Can Humpy get to Lawton without the aid of a caution flag, or is that what it's going to take to get around the 26?
Well, the question you're asking right there is, can he catch up to him? And I don't know that we have the answer. Potentially we have seen our final round of pit stops. If anything, we'll have some guys come in towards the very end of the race, as we now have, 48 laps to go, plus or minus, as we ride along with 26 and Chad Lawton now. The question is, can Kenny Humpy play the conservation game well enough so that he can keep up with Chad Lawton, number one, keep him in reaching distance, and then number two, pass him when push comes to shove in less than 50 laps. These are two very large variables that I just don't think we have the answer to right now.
Tony, guess who we haven't talked about tonight?
I'm guessing you're getting ready to tell me, Tim.
We haven't talked about David Rattler tonight, and usually we talk about good things about David Rattler, but it looks like he's down on pit road. He was up in the top 15 for most of this run, and I don't know if we can look back. Maybe it's a pit stop violation or a penalty of some sort. He came down, took tires, he's down and away, but he was well within the top 15 for most of this race. Talked earlier about him and Byron Daly running near each other, and it's a tough break now for that 09. He's leaving the pit area. He has now scored his one lap down, and he's back in 35th or 36th place. So it was going good tonight for David Rattler. He's still got a little ways to go in this race, and maybe he can get an aid of a caution and try to get his lap back.
Yeah, it always seems that's the way it works out, Tim. You have that run, you think, man, my season's finally going to get turned around, and then something weird happens. In the case of David Rattler, had to come down pit road after running, as you said, in the top 15 solidly through most of the night. Now back in the 40th spot, being scored 2 laps down. Tough break for David Rattler. Nearly catches a safer barrier off turn number 2. Looks like he's driving a little bit motivated, maybe determined to try to prove something now after that mishap that sent him back 2 laps further than he expected to be running in the running order. In fact, he's right behind second place Kenny Humpy. And I know Humpy, mired in this little gaggle of traffic, losing time to Chad Lawton. This is not where Kenny Humpy wants to be. He's only got 45 laps to go this time by, and Kenny Humpy's got to make up a half a tenth per lap, roughly, to catch Chad Lawton. Doesn't sound that hard on his face, Joe, but given what we've seen in the past, Kenny Humpy can only muster about, 2 to 3 hundredths of a second per lap on the leader, Chad Lawton.
58 lets the 24 and 09 by him. Those cars are not riding for position per se. Nathan Wise, the 24, the 09 of David Rattler. Kenny Humpy, the only thing I can think of here, guys, is that he's doing everything he can in order to save the tires underneath him for that very last push. Now, the good news is he does have some traffic around him. He can use that to his advantage, play the draft game a little bit, and try to stay within striking distance of Chad Lawton. That's the good news. The bad news is Kenny Humpy now runs a very precarious wire and of managing his tires well enough to the point that he doesn't have to deal with it later on in the race. So, Kenny Humpy, here's what he's got to do. Save his tires, save enough up where he can challenge Chad Lawton in the end, and if a caution flag comes out, everything he's worked for is out the window. Good luck, Kenny Humpy. You're going to need it.
And when you look at the 3 in a row that we've been talking about, yes, 3 in a row would be nice, but in the grand scheme of things, when you're trying to win the championship, Kenny Humpy running second right now, finishing in the top, even if he finishes second or third, it's still a great night when you look at the big picture. And speaking about big picture, let's take this opportunity to step away and take a quick pit stop ourselves, because we haven't had one in 127 laps. We'll be right back here on iRacing Live, fanschoice.tv, and PSR TV.
Sorry, guys. I never would have thought making duck calls would have stirred up this much excitement.
No kidding. You got him coming up here.
Shortcut time!
That's what I'm talking about. You sure this is a good idea?
Oh, yeah. I got this. I can't guarantee you how this will end, but Pete can guarantee your radiator for life. Introducing the Peak Run True Guarantee. Check it out at peakguarantee.com.
Welcome back to the Texas Motor Speedway, round number 4 of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. Nothing much has changed. Chad Lawton remains up front, 2.3 seconds over Kenny Humpy, Chris Overland, Ray Alfala, Cody Bias, your top 5. Justin Bolton, Brad Mahar, Thomas Davis, Patrick Crabtree, and Brian Day, your top 10. Closest battle within the top 10, gentlemen, appears to be Thomas Davis and Patrick Crabtree right now. They are nose to tail going in to corner number 3. Everybody else has a little bit of a gap between them as we work lap number 131.
And that's actually a 3-car battle, Tim. Brad Mahar, the newest addition to Gale Force Racing, he's running in 7th, just ahead of that duo. And Brian Day, another Gale Force Racing driver, is about 2 seconds behind that group. And really, it's been a pretty solid battle and a solid day for Patrick Crabtree. Didn't start off great for his number 15 Ford. Fell back through the field early, but they've worked on that car. They've got speed back under it. And now here he is inside the top 10 in the waning laps of this race. Maybe with a shot at a top 7 finish. Certainly a good run for Patrick Crabtree after the first couple of races of the season. Went very well. And Auto Club Speedway, well, that was quite the opposite. Did not go well for him. So certainly a good comeback for Patrick Crabtree here in Texas, Joe.
Patrick Crabtree. What about Brian Day? He's having a great night on the track himself. Started 13th tonight, currently sitting in 10th with 40 to go. His Twitter reporting all quiet on the team channel, which means Brian is either 1, happy with the car, 2, focused on winning this race, or 3, some combination of both. So Brian Day, give a shout to him because he looks like he's having a whole lot of fun right now in that Plan B Sales Toyota. Sitting in position number 10, but all eyes are really going to be on those top 3, Lawton, Humpy, and Overland, to figure out what they're going to do when push comes to shove in a handful of laps.
You know, looking at the start of this season, you have to give a tip of the cap to Chris Overland, the 47-car former Pro Series champion, and running right now in the top 3. He's got one of his quote-unquote teammates at Technical Alliance working between Slip Angle and Last Row Motorsports, Ray Alfala, running just behind him, about a half second or so off the pace of the 47 car. You have to believe that Chris Overland, this is probably going to be his breakout season, and I say probably going to be because he made that transition almost flawlessly last year, but now he establishes himself, Tony, as one of those championship contenders. We'll see how the rest of the season goes, but right now through these first 4 races, that double clutch number 47, pretty good so far, especially through 136 caution-free laps here in Texas.
Yeah, anytime you can maintain a position in the top 5 one of these races, really even the top 10, through a race that's gone green for over 200 miles, that's a pretty stout accomplishment as we close in on only 30 laps to go. It will be next time by for the leaders, Chris Overland included in that group. He's got Ray Alfala immediately behind him, but guess what? I'm sure Overland motivated to stay into that 3rd spot. And even if he did finish 4th, not a bad run for the Double Clutch Menards group as Alfala, previous winner here at Texas, in 4th, looking for 3rd. Off turn number 4, he's still got 30 laps to work his way to the front. 137 down and 30 to go. So we get to lap number 167, already passed 200 miles complete here in Texas.
And this is where the psychology begins for a lot of these drivers out here, because at this point, this is where you start figuring out how much time do I have left, how much gas do I have left, how much tires do I have left. Because the last thing you want to do is have to be forced to come down pit road because you misestimated your pit window. Now, that all being said, if we get a next caution flag somewhere in the next 20-some laps or so, all bets are off. You know why? Because, there it is!
There it is!
On the field. First caution on the field.
Car 9 on the back straightaway. It's Tyler Hill bringing out the caution flag, and that will put us under the first caution of the evening. And you hate to be that guy, Tony, but the 9 running after his teammate Tyler Laughlin, 9 around all by himself.
It almost looked like, Tim, when he came through turns 1 and 2, he clipped the left front on the apron just enough to de-wedge that race car. He tried catching it, tried saving it, and unfortunately he just overcorrected, slightly backed it into the inside wall. Probably be able to get a lot of that damage repaired, but nonetheless it did bring out the caution flag. The first one here tonight at Texas with 137 plus laps in the books. The 140 complete this time by. The leaders will come down, if they choose to come down, with 27 laps to go. What we have ourselves here, gentlemen, is a good old-fashioned Tuesday night fight at Texas.
Yeah, a fight, a gunfight, a showdown, whatever you want to call it. That's exactly what we're going to be, and we're going to see here at Texas Motor Speedway. And more importantly, guys, as I was about to say, as that caution came out, this changes everything for these drivers. Now everyone's going to come down, get brand new tires, get that fuel to use as ballast in their machines. Chad Lawton's going to lead them down, and he's going to have a whole lot of company following him down pit road. Everybody who was on that lead group, including Ray Alfala, Chris Overland, is going to come down. Cody Bias, Justin Bolton, Brad Mahar, all coming down to the attention of their crew. The 83 of Alex Warren down there. The 58 of Kenny Humpy getting 4 tires and fuel on his Chevrolet Super Sport as well. Guys, now these guys can run as hard as they want. Now these guys can do everything they want. These guys can fight as hard as they want to fight, just because at this juncture they've got the equipment to do so. This is where everything changes and gets more exciting.
That 26 car, Tony, was on it on pit road.
Wow.
Quick off pit road for Chad Lawton. 4 tires. Kenny Humpy comes off second. Overland, Alfala, Justin Bolton, your top 5. Cody Bias, Patrick Crabtree, Brad Mahar, PJ Sturgis, and the 4 of Brian Day with Michael Conti just behind there in the top 10. Let's take a moment, step away. We'll recollect our thoughts and bring you back to the Texas Motor Speedway. But first, we're going to watch them come off the line here, and then we're going to step away for the commercial break, because you're going to want to grab your popcorn. You're going to want to grab some snacks. This one's going to be good. Coming up to the finish of this one, we'll reset your lineup. Just over 20 laps to go here on iRacing Live.
Sorry, guys. I never would have thought making duck calls would have stirred up this much excitement.
No kidding. Got him coming up here.
Shortcut time!
That's what I'm talking about. You sure this is a good idea?
Oh, yeah. I got this. I can't guarantee you how this will end, but Pete can guarantee your radiator for life. Introducing the Peak Run True Guarantee. Check it out at peakguarantee.com.
In the outside, contact made. 56 slides it into 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even. Give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy. Welcome back to the Texas Motor Speedway, getting ready to go green It's Chad Lawton and Kenny Humpy, your top two. Going to lead us to green, completing lap 143 of 167 and the first caution flag of the evening, and it might not be the last. Green flag in the air. We are back underway. The 58 of Humpy on the outside was on it with his teammate. The 26 of Lawton to the inside, going to take the lead back as they file into corner number one.
So Lawton going to end up leading into the first corner with Humpy on his rear bumper, but here's the thing we haven't seen all night long. Kenny Humpy, fresh tires on the back bumper of Chad Lawton, and behind him, it's getting dicey. Justin Bolton had to crack the throttle, trying to get around Alfala and Overland. Further back, Cody Bias stuck on the high side. Michael Conti, we haven't talked about him since the first 10 of the race. He's back in the top 10, and he is digging hard in the Abutto Chevrolet. It's a completely new race. Everybody is trying to grab the Easter eggs because guess what? The Easter Bunny's about ready to come through.
That's certainly one way to put it as Lawton leads the conga line around the track. Humpy, Overland, Alfala, Bolton, your top five. And guys, you could throw a blanket over them because it is so tight. The racing among them is starting to pick up just a little bit and just enough as Overland throws a block on Alfala. Alfala's starting to dig a little bit. He ain't going to be patient for this much longer.
No, you really can't be. You really have to go, especially if you're in the middle of that pack, and position yourself for a chance to win this race. Patrick Crabtree's had a great season so far, 7th in the point standings, currently sits 6th right now, and trying to make his way up a little bit closer to the front of the field. Don't count out that 15 as we continue to move on in these final few laps of this race. 21 laps to go, this time by as the 15 of Patrick Crabtree sees the battle in front of him. 2 and 47 exchange positions. Now Alfala into third.
And this is exactly when we're used to seeing Ray Alfala pounce. He gets a little bit of luck late, and all of a sudden his Ford has got some vision under the hood, and that is no different here tonight at Texas as he tries to reel in point leader Kenny Humpy and the leader Chad Lawton. And really, though, for Chad Lawton, I think, Joe, this victory, if he can hold on to it, is overdue. He has been solid the last few races this year. He was solid the last third of last season, and it's just been a long time coming for Chad Lawton to get back to victory lane in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. And considering he's doing it early, this can solidify him as a threat to Kenny Humpy and the battle for the championship.
Well, that being said, the season is still early, but yes, it definitely could be. Every race counts, every point counts, every point matters, and this is where the rubber meets the road, both literally and figuratively. We're running lap 49 of lap 167. Your top three have not changed. Lawton, Humpy, Alfala still your top three. Overland, Justin Bolton, your top five, as now your top two starting to break away.
5 and 4 going at it down the back straightaway that time by Michael Conti, and the 4 Brian Day almost had a moment. They sit back in 10th and 11th. And Tony, do you remember 2 weeks ago when we covered the battle for 18th coming to the line between the 33 and the 5? Well, guess who's found each other for 9th place?
Oh, yes, Michael Conti, Brian Blackford, Brian Day in the middle of that one into Plan B sales Toyota. He might have to go to Plan B now as Matt Busa works his way around. Cody Bias tries to do the exact same thing, but it got hairy a couple of laps ago. Guys were all over each other, bumpers on one another, fenders leaning on each other, paint being traded, and smoke just a-rolling. Somehow they were able to hang on to it, and it has really calmed down in the last lap and a half or so as Conti has gotten away from that group. So has Brian Blackford, but behind him it is still a dandy. Cody Bias stuck right there in the middle of it with 17, Justin Trombley, Corey Vincent, numerous others, and surprisingly, Cody Bias has thrown the anchor out here in this final shootout. That 27 car can go nowhere here at Texas, it appears, Joe.
But here's what I'm really curious about, and I'm sure we're about to see lap business pick up here in the next lap or so. Chad Lawton, Kenny Humpy, Ray Alfala, Chris Overland, Justin Bolton, your top five. Guys, they're still running single file. Do they not realize that we're almost at that point of less than 15 to go, less than 10 to go? As nobody informed them that time's running out, and if you're going to start moving, now's the time to do it. Well, nobody seems to be urgently doing it on lap 153.
Your leaders are running away with this right now. Your top 5 trying to put a little freight train together. Your top 2 trying to break away from the rest of them, with Kenny Humpy pushing Chad Lawton to the limit right now. Alfala, Overland, and Bolton also within this little pack, within about a second of each other. But Humpy is hungry all over the back bumper of Lawton, trying to make it 3 wins in a row in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Lap 154 of 167 being worked on the board.
Oh, hungry Kenny Humpy is hustling here at Texas off turn number 2. He has got Chad Lawton, and he is ready to eat him for dinner. Problem is, he can't quite find the utensils to cut this meal up, and that's what's hindering him from chewing up Chad Lawton and spitting him out here in the final few laps of this Texas event. Somebody call the Hamburglar. Somebody's about to get robbed for a win, I've got a feeling.
Not so fast, my friend. If Chad Lawton can do everything he can to get in front of Kenny Humpy, to stay in front of Kenny Humpy, he's about to do that. And you know, even though these guys are teammates, there's no love lost between the two of them. A win is a win, no matter how you cut it. And if anyone's going to stop that three-peat, it's going to be Chad Lawton.
And Chad Lawton in that number 26 car could use a win right now to get himself a little bit closer to the front of the field when it comes to the point standings. And the guy he's chasing, right behind him right now, Kenny Humpy in position number 2. But these guys don't sort it out, Tony. Ray Alfala is going to take flight in that Vision of Flight car, currently running in position at number 3. Quick look back to Sturgis and Crabtree. Sturgis takes position number 6 from Patrick Crabtree that last time by.
If you want to compare it to the, well, shall we say, NHL playoffs that are getting ready to shape up here, it looks like Chad Lawton is starting to become the flightless bird that's about ready to be devoured by a hamburger and a bunch of other birds that can fly, the way this is starting to shape up. I say that as a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, and if you watched the game earlier tonight, you know exactly how that one ended up. But Lawton, this is the most pressure he has had all night long. He not only has Humpy on his back bumper, he has Ray Alfala there as well, plus Overland and Bolton waiting in the wings if the 3 of them would happen to get together. And guys, don't forget, this was a very similar situation 1 year ago. Kevin King found himself in a multi-car battle for the lead involving Alfala and others. They got together getting into turn number 1. Kevin King got past the accident in time. The caution came out, and they never went back green. So it's not unprecedented to see the leaders get together in the final laps here at Texas, Joe.
10 to go here on track. It'll be 9 as soon as I hit the start-finish line. Chad Lawton continues to be up front. Humpy there. Now Ray Alfala starting to pick up the pace. So what was a battle between 2 drivers is now a battle between 3 drivers. As Overland and Bolton, all they can do is sit back and watch these 3 drivers do business with less than 9 laps to go. Alfala the dark horse here. Humpy and Lawton still nose to tail. Anybody's race with less than 10 to go.
This is where you really start to show your cards. Ray Alfala has pushed it the last couple of laps to get up to the top 2. You ride on the roof of Kenny Humpy. In front of him, Chad Lawton, his teammate. Behind him, Ray Alfala from Slip Angle Motorsports. Ray is a 2-time winner here in Texas. He won the season opening event. Kenny Humpy has won the last 2. And Chad Lawton looking to win his first of the season. And if they continue to go at it this way, Tony, I wouldn't count out Overland, and I wouldn't count out Justin Bolton.
Would not, Tim. Just what I was saying. These 3, all it takes is one slight bobble, one crack of the throttle, and Overland and Bolton are right there in the middle of their picnic. And it's not, they really don't want it to be even a 3-person picnic. They certainly do not want it to be a 5-member picnic. And very quickly, it might become such down the back straightaway. This group has opened up collectively about 3 seconds on the rest of the field. And look at Alfala. Closer to Humpy than he's been all night. He'll peek to the inside off turn 4. Now look to the outside. Nothing there. Only 6 laps to go for Lawton, Humpy, and Alfala. They're back to 1.
Scoring lap 162. 6 laps to go here on the field. Your top 3 do not change, though you start to see them ruminate about who can make the first switch where. You saw the 2 of Ray Alfala try to get around the 58 of Kenny Humpy. Didn't quite work out for Humpy. now, sorry, it didn't work out for Ray Alfala as Humpy pseudo through the block there, if you will. And now Kenny Humpy's going to keep the two in his rear view mirror. But Kenny Humpy now starting to test the waters underneath the 26 of Chad Lawton on the front stretch. And the quad oval trying to poke it around a little bit. You saw the 58 get on the white line there through turns 1 and 2. Humpy knows he needs to move. He's just biding his time, trying to figure out when is the right time to do it.
You really got to start thinking about it now, though. They'll come to 4 laps to go. If the caution comes out from this point on, the race is over. There is no green-white checker finish. So if you're Ray Alfala or Kenny Humpy, you really got to start thinking about making your move and making your move now with 3.5 laps to go as they get ready to hit the back straightaway. The 58 of Humpy looking for 3 in a row. The Ray Alfala number 2 looking for 3 wins at this racetrack. And we have the 32 car ahead of your leaders.
Oh boy, traffic could play havoc in this one. The first car they're going to encounter is the 32 of Danny Hansen, the Segpay Ford. He sees the leaders are coming. More than likely, he'll go to the high side in turn number 1. Let the leaders pass to the bottom. That's in fact what will happen. So Danny Hansen not going to play a factor in the outcome of the race for the lead. Again, only 4 laps to go when they come by this time. And I'm starting to see Humpy maybe show a little sign of weakness, Joe. Cannot quite close up to Chad Lawton the way he has. And that might be all it takes for Chad Lawton to somehow squeak ahead just enough to win this race at Texas. 4.5 miles left.
Popsicle sticks flying in the air. 2 to go as Lawton now continues to pull away from the 58 of Kenny Humpy and the 2 of Alfala. Those 2 drivers have nothing for the 26. The 58 certainly doesn't. He's now a car length away. The 2 knows he can strike. He just isn't through turns 3 and 4. And we're going to go around one more time here at the Great American Speedway. White flag in the air for the 26.
Time to lay the cards on the table. Chad Lawton in the number 26 looking for his first win of the season. Humpy, his teammate, riding in second. That might be the comfort zone that Chad Lawton needs. But the 2 of Ray Alfala trying to get up here and spoil the team party as they come through 3 and 4 for the final time this evening. Round number 4 of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. Gonna go to the number 26 car of Chad Lawton. First win this season in 2014 for car 26. 15, sorry. Humpy falls into second. Alfala into third. And then it's Overland and Bolton. And Tony, he won his first race in 2014. Comes back to this series in 2015. And Chad Lawton, once again, is a winner.
And give a call, Tim. We didn't talk about him at all on that final run. P.J. Sturgis. Pretty sure they took 2 tires on that car on the final stop. He finishes 6th after starting 38. Blackford, Crabtree, Conti, and Mahar rounded out the top 10. But yes, Chad Lawton is back with a vengeance in 2015. Got a feeling he and his teammate, Kenny Humpy, going to be 2 of the mainstays, 2 of the pillars you're going to have to crumble to win the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series Championship in 2015, Joe.
Going into this race, Kenny Humpy, Chad Lawton, Ray Alfala, first, second, third in points. Coming out of this race, nothing changes. You know why? Because those 3 guys who finished top 3 will remain top 3 in points here after tonight's race. And what a race it has been, guys. This is only goes to show that we're a quarter of the way done with the season. The competition is heating up. The best racing is yet to come, but for tonight, it'll be Chad Lawton celebrating for the best racing was his. He'll pick up a big win, and a win not too soon at Texas.
There's no substitute for quality. The V&H Fresh number 26 pulls into victory lane here at the Texas Motor Speedway, and we will talk to Chad Lawton and the rest of your top 5 in just a few moments' time. Round number 4 of 16 for the 2015 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series completed. Victory lane up next.
Sorry, guys. I never would have thought making duck calls would have stirred up this much excitement.
No kidding. You got him coming up here.
Shortcut time!
That's what I'm talking about. You sure this is a good idea?
Oh, yeah. I got this. I can't guarantee you how this will end, but Pete can guarantee your radiator for life. Introducing the Peak Run True Guarantee. Check it out at peakguarantee.com.
In the outside, contact made. 56 slides it at a 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Did even give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Welcome back here to Texas Motor Speedway, the great American speedway in the Lone Star State, and we have seen one heck of a battle here tonight in round number 4 of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, Joe. It was a barn burner right down to the very end, an old-fashioned, Old West style shootout. And the guy that was Quick Draw McGraw on the trigger is standing by with Tim Terry. Tim?
Your winner this evening, first time in the 2015 season for Chad Lawton. Chad, 122 laps led. You pretty much dominated this race on paper, but you had a lot of competition behind you, including that number 58 that was looking for 3 in a row. Talk about this race.
Definitely the number 26 VNH Fresh Chevy SS was pretty quick. A lot of effort in the team this week. In happy hour, Cody got something pretty good that was a little bit looser, and I was loose in happy hour, but that's the way I wanted it. So at the start of that race, I kind of followed him to see what to do and back my corners up and do what I needed to do, and got by him. And after that, the sub really came in, and I was able to be really consistent throughout the whole green flag runs that we were having. And I was hoping that caution wasn't going to come out. I think Kenny was catching me regardless. It was going to be a good little race, those last 10 to 15 laps. But I ran, I guess, another good 25 solid laps and was able to bring it home.
And we had a lot of green flag laps in this race, only one caution here this evening. Did you guys anticipate that when you were setting up for this race, that we would go most of this race caution-free?
Texas usually brings some good racing. Most of the races that I run here, it has been green flag runs. This whole week, I felt like everyone felt like we struggled in practice. The car we could never get the balance right. And pretty much the last 2 days, we found out or figured out that it's not really our setup, it's just the way the temperature is that's causing our cars to get real slick, about 30 lap on the tires on. But I don't think we really knew what we were expecting to come in. I knew we were going to get long runs. I wasn't sure where our setup was going to be, but usually when we qualify good and we stay in our position that we were 5th or something like that, we usually run pretty good.
You get that monkey off your back last year, you win your first race in the series, then you come back this year and win that second race here this evening. How big is this win in the sim racing career, Chad Lawton?
Oh, this is a huge win. I've had quite a few good wins in Pro Series, and Michigan last year I held off some dominant drivers like Conti and Ottinger, and then I was able to hold off Humpy and Ray, some 2 best drivers on the net, and it's a really big win. It's appreciative for I'm appreciative for everybody who helped out. this season. We're really fast, and it's fun to drive these cars. And definitely want to give a shout out to Cody for coming up with what he had. I know everyone did their part, but whatever Cody gave me was an awesome setup.
Before we let you go to celebrate this evening, give us a little preview of what we're going to see in 2 weeks at Richmond.
Richmond has been a sketchy track for me. I'm usually hit and miss. The good thing about Richmond, though, is we got Kenny, who's a short track guru, and obviously we have a lot of other guys that know how to build these setups and get around the track. So I don't think there'll be no issues with that. Just want to once again thank V&H Fresh. Want to thank all the guys on the team, and want to give a shout out to my brother Trevor and Michael, who are both watching and actually got to see me win a race finally.
And Joe, there's a driver that we're going to have to watch down the stretch run, and even in 2 weeks' time, top 10 the last time we were at Richmond for Chad Lawton. So it's going to be exciting to see him work once again. Your winner here this evening at the Texas Motor Speedway. Joe, second place, driver that fell just short of the three-peat, Kenny Humpy.
Three-peat would have been grand, but second isn't bad for the driver of that number 58 Chevrolet, Kenny Humpy. And Kenny, how disappointing is it that it's not a three-peat? That being said, how grateful are you that it's a second?
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see Chad win, and congratulations to him. And it's pretty cool to finish second. Don't think I had the bet wasn't the fastest today. Chad definitely had a leg up on us, and he drove a great race and he deserved the win. But to finish second, it's still pretty good points to stay. And kind of disappointed not going for 3 in a row there. But can't win them all. But we'll take the second place.
The team definitely showing its dominance here early in the season. The team now winning 3 of the first 4 events. How does your team, how does the team for that matter, carry all this momentum into Richmond in 2 weeks?
I don't. We're on just some sort of roll. I don't know what it is, but everybody's clicking. We're all having a good time running and making setups, and everything's just clicking right now. We're just rolling with it. I don't know what it is. But, hopefully our luck continues and we can bring another quick car to Richmond. That's one of my favorite places. So I expect to be pretty good there too. But, we just got to go in there and do the best we can.
Real quick, is anybody in the team talking championship yet?
I still think it's a little too early to be talking championship. Races like tonight definitely help. And, real quick, I got to give a quick shout out to Greg McKinney and Best Overhead Doors for being the sponsor, and I have missed them the past few races, but just had to get them in tonight. But we'll go to Richmond and hopefully have a pretty fast car.
Kenny Humpy finishing second in their 58, just 1 short of the three-peat. Tony Stevens with Ray Alfala.
Yeah, Joe, with the driver of the number 2 Ford and Ray, you also fell short of a three-peat here at Texas, winning 3 races. Would have been the first driver ever to do so at any facility on the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series Tour. However, you still had a pretty doggone solid run. Finished 3rd, and of course the 2 guys you're chasing in the points finished ahead of you. What does this do, though, for your confidence now that you're about a quarter of the way through the season already, trying to shape up who you have to race against this year?
Oh, it does a lot. Had a vision of flight on the car today for the first time. Really wanted to get them a win, but we'll take 3rd, led a lap. Just really, really pleased by the effort. Everybody on Slip Angle and Last Row has worked together very well, and shout out to Joey Brown as well. He helped us out today. He's kind of making a comeback, so that's cool. And the race is kind of uneventful from my side. I didn't really want to get that yet. I didn't want to have a yellow come out there with like 30 to go because I wasn't sure if I could even get to the top 2, and then lost a spot on pit road, restarted 4th, and we about all wrecked off of turn 2 on the restart. And I was surprised, and I was able to get back up there and almost got to Kenny, but just really, really good effort. Really, really happy right now.
Kind of leads me into my next question. You got to Kenny Humpy and Chad Lawton, but you could not get around them. It seems like it's a little bit harder to pass with this particular rules package. You really have to set it up and have a huge run on somebody to get beside of them. What have you noticed behind the wheel as far as what it takes to pass your competition, and what are some of the things you're going to work on for Richmond in 2 weeks' time to try to make sure you can pass a little more easy?
Well, Richmond being a short track is completely different than Texas, and with less horsepower and a little bit less grip, but we're still gripping around the track like crazy, so it's just hard to get a run. And these things they're pretty much as setup dependent as they've ever been, compared to the Gen 5 car where you slid around and you could make up a lot of time as a driver. It's not so much the case anymore. So if your car's off just by a little bit, you're on the throttle so much that you're just out to lunch. So it's really important just to get your car dialed in. And I almost got to Kenny in turn 1, and I didn't want to just toss it in there on the bottom because I didn't really have a nose yet, and so it kind of messed me up a little bit, and it took me like 5 laps just to even get back there. And by that time, it was kind of too late. But on to Richmond, where a lot of stuff can happen.
We certainly look forward to seeing you there. I'm sure you'll be a threat for the win there, as you have been every other tour stop this season. That's Ray Alfalla. He finishes 3rd here tonight at Texas. Joe Cortez is standing by with the guy that finished 4th.
Chris Overland finishing 4th tonight, and it's got to be a good feeling to finish anytime you can finish in the top 5. It's got to be a good feeling all the way around. How does it feel to have a good solid finish tonight?
Well, it's not a good feeling all the way around because the 3 people in front of me in points are the 3 people who beat me in the race. So we didn't really gain too much, but it's always nice to run good, and this is one of my favorite tracks. It's my home track, and I've always ran well here, so it's good to know that I'm not like washed up yet.
First top 5, second top 10 of the season. Certainly not washed up. And then there are 47 machine. What's next? How do you build off this and go to a track that's completely different from this in Richmond?
Well, we do exactly what we did this week, and we put our heads down and we test, and we just never give up, because Kenny and Chad are really good, but they're not unbeatable. We proved that tonight, that we were able to hang there with them, and we're inching closer a little bit every single race. So it's going to take all we got to start winning races here and start improving, but that's what we're going to give it.
Season quarter of the way done. Next 4 races going to be very difficult. What's the plan for the next quarter?
Just minimize all the problems that tend to happen at tracks like Richmond, Pocono, Charlotte, and Dover. Those are all really wreck-prone racetracks, and with all the green flag runs we've been having here, it's going to take some people by surprise, and hopefully we'll come out on the good side of it, because, I mean, we can make great setups for all those tracks. It's just coming down to circumstances and not making the wrong people mad.
Always a challenge in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. That's Chris Overland, number 47 machine, finishing 4th tonight here at Texas Motor Speedway. Tim Terry is caught up with another driver, I believe.
And that would be Justin Bolt, moving into position number 5 at the end of this race, but led some laps at the start. Started on the pole. Justin, you have to be happy with the way this race played out at the first and coming home with a top 5 finish.
Yeah, we had a great CHI overhead doors Chevrolet. We definitely had a car capable of winning with my 2 teammates finishing 1st and 2nd, and Cody running well as well as Kevin and Thomas and all those guys. Just got to thank everyone on the team once again for all the hard work and all the effort put into these cars over the past the 2 weeks we've had to prepare for this race, and just keep trying stuff, and it's paying off so far. Like you said, got the pole and led some laps, which was good, but got caught up in some lap cars in the middle of, the second run and lost some time. But ended up with the top 5, tried some adjustments that didn't really help me on that last run, but we were probably going to finish at best 4th with that last run, but I'll take 5th.
How big was it here this evening to get a long green flag run to really kick this race off and only have 1 caution in this race?
Yeah, with how much tires were falling off at this racetrack and how the temperatures were and having clear skies, so the track temp was way up there. Tires were falling off near 2 seconds at the end of the run, so that's really what we focused our setup on. That's what we focus on every week is long runs, and when that fuel runs out, we want to be the fastest cars, and usually it pays off, and especially with that long green flag run to start the race off helped us, so that was good to see. Unfortunately, it ended with a 20-lap run, but still ended up getting 1-2 for the team and ended up with 3 cars in the top 5.
Been a couple of weeks now with this rules package. You're now 5th in the point standings, but we head to Richmond in 2 weeks' time. Have you done any sort of testing with the team at a short track with this new rules package?
Yeah, with this new rules package, Cody and myself really worked on Phoenix to try and get a short track package. That was the first track the service had on the schedule available on the new build for us. So, you know, we've got somewhat of a short track base. Do I think it'll carry over? You know, we'll see, but we at least have somewhat a start to help us out there. And, you know, like Chad said, Kenny's one of the short track masters, and, you know, he's really good at those places. And, you know, we got Jared Crawford over there as well, and he's helped a bunch with these cars. And, you know, he's just a man behind the scenes right now, but, you know, he's one of the best out there, and, you know, we got a lot of those guys on the team. And, you know, like I said, I just can't thank them enough.
And it's going to be fun to watch these guys go at it at Richmond in 2 weeks' time. That's Justin Bolton coming home with position number 5 and also P5 in the point standings, moving up ahead of his teammate Cody Bias, who falls to position number 7. After a couple of rough laps at the end of the race, Cody Bias scored this evening in P21. Tony and Joe, exciting race at Texas. Lot of green flag laps at this race. 1 caution flag. Some pit strategy coming into play as well. Look forward to Richmond in a couple weeks' time. That race seems to go one way or the other. We tend to have a lot of cautions, or we tend to have a lot of green flag laps. By the way, with this series, with everybody gelling together, everybody getting accustomed to how each other races, I think we might see a lot of green flag racing in 2 weeks' time at the Richmond International Raceway. But it's going to be hard once again, gentlemen, to beat the team.
Tim, I think you're exactly right, and Joe, I think you'll agree with me on this, but they have certainly solidified themselves the top of the mountain to say, if you're going to place your flag here, it's got to come through us. And Richmond is a very different type of racing, Joe. There is no doubt about that. We moved from the confines of a 1.5-mile super speedway to a 3/4-mile D-shaped oval, where already we've seen this year there are some disagreements, there are some rivalries, and more than likely, at some point during the race, we're going to invoke the saying, as we have every year, what's not bent will be, mostly referring to bumpers, and for that matter, egos, because they always seem to get a little bit of a checkup whenever we go to Richmond.
Well, of course they do. Richmond is unlike anything we've seen so far on the circuit this year. It's very difficult track. It's a difficult track to master. Plus, when you combine the next quarter of tracks we have there, we have only one real 1.5-mile tri-oval, and that's Charlotte. That's more quad oval, but you get what I'm trying to say. We don't have more of those speedway type tracks when we get to this part of the circuit. We have those very odd tracks that will really test the mettle of every driver, that test their ability, test what they can do on track, and more importantly, test how they're able to race. So these next 4 races, you're really going to see the cream rise to the top. And you already have, you're right, the team planting the flag and saying, this is our turf, but you have a lot of other drivers that are hungry, Tony. You have a lot of other drivers there who want it. And to them, I say, the question becomes, how bad do you really want it? Because if you want it, you got to knock off the team first.
And that might be a little easier said than done. When you look at the point standings after this race, this does not include any sort of drop, mind you, but it basically mimics the top 5 from the race tonight, Joe. Kenny Humpy is the point leader. Chad Lawton is second right behind him. But third is Ray Alfala. Then comes Chris Oberlin, and then Justin Bolton. Those are the top 5 in points. They are the top 5 in the race tonight. Can anybody beat the team, and in particular, Kenny Humpy and Chad Lawton at Richmond? And if they do, how do they do it?
The short answer is yes, and I'm going to invoke a name that was suspended tonight in order to do so, and that name is Nick Ottinger. As you look back historically, 2013 in the April race at Richmond, won it no problem. That was part of his personal three-peat in the 13th season. In the 14th season, that Nick Ottinger, that race was moved from the beginning of the season to the end of the season thanks to a rule change and a build change here in an iRacing sim. Nonetheless, Nick Ottinger walks away with another win at Richmond. If anyone's got a chance to beat the team, it's going to be Nick Ottinger, and it's going to be particularly by expertise alone. Ottinger has proven himself there. He's proven himself time and time again, and I've got a feeling if anyone can do it, it's going to be him because he knows how to win, he's proven it, and he could be one of the first real three-time winners over and over again in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.
So, bold prediction, Nick Ottinger comes back with a vengeance and wins at Richmond. That's what Joe's saying. I have to say I can't disagree with that being a very, very real possibility. We'll find out, though, in 2 weeks' time. Nonetheless, it is going to be 2 weeks before the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series is back in action right here on iRacing Live, PSR TV, Fans Choice TV, and all of our simulcast partners. But don't forget, next Tuesday night, same time, Fans Choice TV, it is hashtag iRacing Night, where we plan to have the iRacing Class B NASCAR Xfinity style cars once again on the service under the bright lights here of iRacing Night on Fans Choice and iRacing Live. It's been a fun race. Congratulations to Chad Lawton and the team. We'll talk more with him on Fans Choice TV coming up a little bit later this week. And on behalf of Tim Terry, Ian Bushy, Matt Thomas, Joe Cortez, my name is Tony Stevens, saying good night, and we'll see you in 1 week's time here on Fans Choice.
Sorry, guys. I never would have thought making duck calls would have stirred up this much excitement.
No kidding. You got him coming up here.
Shortcut time!
That's what I'm talking about. You sure this is a good idea?
Oh, yeah. I got this. I can't guarantee you how this will end, but Pete can guarantee your radiator for life. Introducing the Peak Run True Guarantee. Check it out at peakguarantee.com.
Cars are lined up on the grid. The iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn one for the first time.